In the unusual African kingdom of Eswatini, subjects must make sure they do not dishonor their monarch. This rule also applies to the 15 wives of King Mswati III. However, one of the king's wives broke this rule and was caught red-handed with king's best friend, Eswatini's Minister of Justice. But do you know how the king himself reacted to this humiliation? And what fate awaited the lovers? Watch the video to find out all the details of this scandal and how it ended. Let's get started. Eswatini is not a large country in South Africa, with a population of just over 1 million people. In 1968, this state, then called Swaziland, became independent from England. The local tribal chief, Sobhuza II, proclaimed himself king and wielded absolute power. After his death in 1986, his 18-year-old son, Mswati III, became the new king. He still rules Eswatini as an absolute monarch with unlimited power. He can execute and pardon, dispose of the land, and even decide the fate of his subjects. Eswatini kings make extensive use of these rights to organize their private lives. Mswati has 15 official wives and 23 children, as well as an informal harem. Interestingly, his subjects consider him relatively modest. The monarch's father, King Sobhuza, had 70 wives, 210 children, and more than 1,000 grandchildren. Almost immediately, Mswati displayed two key traits: amorousness and greed. The king created the Sovereign Wealth Fund, into which he required everyone in the country to pay money in addition to taxes. With these funds, the monarch organized a harem where the most beautiful girls were selected. Since Eswatini is a rather poor country, the women readily accepted immodest offers and the harem grew rapidly. In the 2 decades of his reign, the number of Mswati's official wives reached 11. According to malicious gossip, not all of them joined the harem voluntarily. The monarch repeatedly stated that he owned not only the wealth of Eswatini, but also all the women in the country. Therefore, those who did not agree to become his next wife could even be kidnapped. But one girl named Notando did not have to be forced to live with him. However, the story of her relationship with the king was no less scandalous. As a matter of fact, Notando was a minor when the relationship began. She met the monarch thanks to her victory in the beauty contest Miss Teenager 2004. Naturally, she was noticed by the voluptuous king. Notando was about 16 years old at the time, and Mswati is already 36. Despite the huge age difference, the girl accepted the monarch's attention with open arms. The story of their affair cannot be called romantic. Rather, it followed a pattern that Mswati III had used many times before: attention, expensive gifts, promises of a trouble-free life, and finally the offer to become the 12th wife in the harem. Notando came from a poor family, even by Eswatini standards. So, a year after their acquaintance, she agreed to join the ranks of the monarch's wives. The king paid the girl's family a hefty ransom, a dozen cows, and in 2005, a colorful wedding took place in Eswatini's capital, Mbabane. And right after that, the country almost had a virgin revolt. The thing is that 4 years before that wedding, a law was introduced in the country that was wild by European standards. Allegedly to fight AIDS, Mswati imposed a 5-year ban on intimate relations with virgins. Girls preserving their innocence were forced to tie tassels to their loincloths. Strangely, the moratorium was generally respected. The people of Eswatini are extremely law-abiding. And now, after 4 years, it was revealed that the monarch himself had married a virgin and a minor. The outrage of the local girls, who had honestly abstained from intimacy, was unprecedented. They organized a protest march to Mswati's palace and threw tassels torn from their clothes on the porch. He had to hastily revoke the rule and pay a fine of a cow for violating his own decree. The animal was immediately roasted and fed to the jubilant crowd, but the king's authority was noticeably undermined. The monarch's reputation continued to decline. The reason for this was a luxurious life against the background of general poverty and squandering of the state's resources. The king sold concessions cheaply to foreigners to develop valuable deposits, while his subjects were forced to live on 70 cents a day. Mswati's treatment of his wives was no better. His fifth and sixth wives escaped from the harem to neighboring South Africa. There they told the press of the abominable order that reigned in the palace. According to the women, the king often beat and insulted his wives. The ninth wife, named Lamagongo, was forbidden by the monarch to attend her sister's funeral. The woman was so worried that she committed suicide. After a honeymoon with the young Notando, the king also showed disdain for her. Soon Mswati was marrying for the 13th and 14th time and had almost forgotten his former favorite. As the years passed, the young woman could no longer bear it. Her loneliness was noticed by one of the richest men in the country, Minister of Justice Ndumiso Mambo. He was a childhood friend of the king and probably felt invulnerable. Unlike King Mswati, the minister was highly educated, gallant, and treated Notando with unusual respect. The girl responded to the man's advances, and a stormy affair began between them. The lovers had to meet in secret, because the king was extremely negative about cheating wives. For love affairs, the couple chose a luxurious hotel royal villa, located near the palace. For secrecy, Notando dressed in men's military uniform and moved in this form from the palace to the hotel. The lovers did not take into account that the monarch had informants in every such place in the small country. In a short time, Mswati learned of the relationship between the Minister of Justice and his own wife. His revenge was harsh and terrible. Despite their long-standing friendship, Ndumiso was arrested for trespassing on private property. The Royal Villa Hotel is owned by the king, so technically the claim is legitimate. The minister was interrogated not by the police but by the monarch's bodyguards. They knocked out almost all of his teeth, and then a show trial was held. The king wanted to execute the minister, but under pressure from Britain and other European countries, the execution was called off. Although Eswatini is an independent state, it is very much influenced by the opinions of its friends from abroad. King Mswati himself was the guest of honor at the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton. As a result, Ndumiso was removed from his high position, stripped of all his property, and banned from ministry. The former minister ended up homeless and virtually destitute, but at least he was alive. Notando was less fortunate. At first, Mswati seemed to forgive the unfaithful wife and even allowed her to live in the palace. But with each passing year and each new wife, the attitude grew worse. Later, the girl was removed from living in the women's quarters and sent to live with the guards. It seems that Notando's fate was sealed at this point. In March 2019, when the woman was only 31 years old, it became known about her death. According to the official version, the king's 12th wife died of skin cancer in one of the clinics in South Africa. However, knowing the history of relations between Notando and her husband, the country was filled with rumors of a violent death. Indirect confirmation of their validity is the fact that until her demise, nothing was reported about the girl's illness. During her married life, Notando managed to give birth to 3 children, a boy and 2 girls. They were recognized by the father and received the status of princes. It is possible that a young man named Bitiv will sit on the throne of Eswatini, replacing his father after his death. This is unlikely. However, Mswati himself was probably randomly chosen as heir out of 200 children of the previous king. Much more important is another question. Will the next monarch inherit the habits of his predecessors, and will this attitude toward Eswatini women continue into the future? What do you think about this story? Write in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. See you soon.